You're exhausted, I know. Not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. The other kind, the tired that's been building for weeks, maybe years. The tired that sits behind your eyes, even when you're smiling. You've been carrying something, a job, a marriage, a worry you don't say out loud, a version of yourself you're not sure you can keep performing much longer. And tonight, you came here. Maybe you didn't even know why. Maybe you just typed a few words into a search bar because something in you needed permission to stop. So let me say this clearly, before we go any further, you don't have to carry this alone tonight. There's a man in an old story, in the Gospel of John, who spent his whole life believing he had to fix what was broken, prove what was worth proving, hold up what was falling, and one quiet evening, everything he thought he had to carry, he was allowed to set down. That's where we're going tonight. Not to a lesson, not to a list of things you should do better, just to rest, the kind John wrote about, the kind your body has been asking for. Stay with me a little while. There's a moment in the Gospel of John that people rush past because it doesn't look like much. No miracle, no crowd, just a tired man sitting down by a well. John tells us that Jesus had been walking, hours, maybe most of the day, under a sun that doesn't care how holy you are. And when he reached the town of Sychar in Samaria, he didn't go preach. He didn't go heal anyone. He sat down. The scripture says it plainly. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat on the well, John 4-6. That's it. That's the whole verse. A man who was tired, sitting down, because his body needed him to. I want you to sit with that for a second, because I think we've trained ourselves to skip past it. We read about the miracles, the storms calmed, the dead raised, and we forget that the same gospel that records all of that also records a moment where God, wrapped in flesh, was simply too tired to keep standing. If he needed to sit down, maybe you're allowed to. Maybe the exhaustion you've been carrying isn't a sign that you're failing. Maybe it's just what it looks like to be a person doing hard things in a world that never slows down to ask if you're okay. There's something else in that scene worth noticing. While he was sitting there, resting, a woman came to draw water, and instead of performing strength he didn't have, he simply asked her for a drink. Give me 2 drink, John 4-7. The Son of God, tired by the roadside, asked someone else for help. We don't talk about that part enough. We like the version of faith where we're always the ones giving, always the ones strong enough to carry others. But even in that well-worn story, the posture is reversed for a moment. He rests, he asks, he receives. Maybe that's permission for you too, not just to rest, but to stop pretending you don't need anything from anyone. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. Even he didn't. Now, John doesn't just leave us with a tired traveler. A few chapters later, there's a phrase that I think belongs right next to that well, 3 words spoken at the very end of his life, from a cross, after everything had been given. It is finished, John 19:30. 2 moments. One man sitting down because his body gave out. One man, later, saying the work was done. And in between those 2 moments, the whole weight of everything he came to carry. I don't think it's an accident that the same gospel holds both. A weary traveler at a well, and a finished work on a cross. Because that's the shape of most of our lives too, isn't it? We get tired in the middle. We wonder if we'll make it to the end. And somewhere, not always with fanfare, not always with proof, the thing we've been carrying does eventually get set down. You might be in the well part of your story right now, the part where you're tired and nobody's written a miracle into it yet. That's all right. That part is in the book too. It didn't get edited out because it wasn't impressive. It stayed in, I think, so that the people who'd find themselves exhausted by the roadside 2,000 years later would have someone to sit down next to. There's a phrase Jesus says a little later in John's Gospel that I want to leave with you for tonight, not as something to figure out, just something to hold. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. John 14:27. Notice he doesn't say peace I'll give you once everything is fixed. He doesn't wait for your life to be sorted out, your finances stable, your relationships healed, your body well. He says it now, in the middle of the unfinished thing, in the middle of the tired part. Let not your heart be troubled. That's not a command shouted at you. It's closer to something said quietly to a friend who's been pacing the floor for too long. You can stop pacing. Not because the problem disappeared, but because you were never meant to hold it by yourself in the first place. I think a lot of us carry exhaustion like it's proof of love. Like if we're tired enough, it means we cared enough. But the man at the well teaches something different. He loved deeply, more deeply than anyone, and he still needed to sit down. Strength and tiredness were never opposites in him. They don't have to be opposites in you either. So tonight, before we go any further, I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that you're allowed to be the tired traveler instead of the one who has to fix everything. Imagine setting your bag down by the well, not abandoning what matters to you, just resting your arms for a while. The water is still there. The well isn't going anywhere, and neither is the one sitting beside it. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. I knew a man once, well, I should say I heard about him. The way you hear about someone through someone else, in pieces, over years. The way most real stories reach us. His name doesn't matter. What matters is what he carried, and how long he carried it, without ever once setting it down. He ran a small business, nothing glamorous, the kind of place where if he didn't show up, nothing happened. No one else could make the calls he made, fix what he fixed, smooth over what needed smoothing before it turned into a real problem. For almost 30 years, he was the first one there in the morning and the last one to leave at night. His wife used to joke that the porch light stayed on so long waiting for him that the bulb outlasted 3 others in the house. It wasn't really a joke. It was just true, said the way you say true things you've made peace with. He wasn't bitter about any of it. That's the part people misunderstand when they hear stories like his. They expect resentment, exhaustion turning sour over the years. But it wasn't like that. He loved his family fiercely, fiercely enough that, in his mind, the early mornings, the missed dinners, the constant low hum of responsibility sitting on his shoulders, all of it was the love. He genuinely believed that exhaustion was simply what devotion looked like from the outside. If you loved people enough, you carried things for them. That was the whole equation, as far as he understood it. Then, one winter, his body simply stopped negotiating with him. Nothing dramatic happened. No collapse in front of customers. No ambulance. No hospital story to tell at parties later. Just a quiet, ordinary morning where he sat down at the kitchen table to put his shoes on before work, the way he had 10,000 mornings before, and he couldn't make himself stand back up. Not because his legs had failed him. Something deeper than his legs had simply run out of reasons to keep performing a strength it didn't actually have left anymore. His daughter told me about it later. She said he sat there for almost 20 minutes. Not crying, not panicking, just sitting, staring at a coffee cup that had long gone cold, the way you'd stare at something you suddenly didn't recognize, even though it was something you'd looked at every single morning of your life. And in those 20 minutes, she said, something in him loosened. Not broke, loosened. He told her afterward that it felt less like falling apart and more like finally being allowed to put something down that he'd been gripping so tightly for so long that his hands had genuinely forgotten what it felt like to be open. He said his arms actually ached that day, in a way they hadn't ached from physical work in years. It was the ache of release, not effort. He didn't quit his work. He didn't transform overnight into some completely different man. The way these stories sometimes get told in tidy little arcs with a clear before and after. What changed in him was smaller than that, quieter than that. He started letting his son handle the deliveries he used to insist on doing himself, the ones he'd convinced himself only he could manage correctly. He let his wife start making calls he used to think only he had the right instincts for. He didn't stop caring about the business, or about his family, or about doing things well. What stopped was the quiet, constant insistence that he had to be the only one holding any of it up. I think about that man more than I expected to when I first heard his story, because I don't think what happened to him is rare at all. I think a lot of us are sitting at some version of that kitchen table right now, this very night, not collapsed, not in any visible crisis anyone would notice from the outside. Just quietly, finally, out of reasons to keep proving to ourselves and everyone watching that we can hold absolutely everything by ourselves, all the time, without help. Nobody tells you, going into adulthood, that the moment you finally exhale after years of holding your breath usually doesn't look like surrender in any dramatic sense. It looks like sitting still for 20 minutes with a coffee cup in front of you, unable to fully explain, even to yourself, why you suddenly can't move and why some part of you doesn't even want to. That man, by the way, much later in his life, someone asked him directly what had changed that particular morning, what had finally given. He thought about the question for a long while before he answered, the way people do when they're trying to find words for something they only ever felt. He said it wasn't that he stopped caring about anyone he loved. It was that he finally, fully believed, not just understood in his head, but believed in his body, that someone else had been holding him the entire time he thought he was the only one holding everyone else up. He said he didn't have the words for that back then, sitting at the table. He has them now. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. You never really did, even on the mornings it felt heaviest. Some of us just need to sit a little longer at the table, staring at something gone cold, arms aching from a grip we didn't know we could finally release before we let ourselves believe it. Let's pray together now. Not the kind of prayer that needs the right words, the polished sentences, the version of faith that sounds impressive when said out loud in front of other people. Just a conversation, the way you'd talk to someone who already knows you completely, who isn't waiting for you to perform belief correctly before he decides to listen, who has heard every version of you, including the tired one, including the one who almost didn't bother praying tonight at all. Close your eyes if you can. Let your shoulders drop just a little, away from your ears. Let your jaw loosen. Let your hands rest open, palms up, on your lap or on the bed beside you. You don't need to fold them tightly. Nothing here requires effort from you, just presence. Just showing up exactly as worn down as you are. Father, I don't always know exactly what tonight has been carrying for me. I don't always have the words for it myself, Even when I try to explain it to the people closest to me, even when I try to explain it to myself in the quiet moments when no one else is around. But you knew before I sat down here, before I even decided to listen to this tonight, before I knew I needed to. You know what's been sitting on my chest like a weight I couldn't name out loud. You know what's been running through my mind at 2 in the morning. The thoughts I can't seem to switch off, no matter how exhausted my body is. You know what I've been holding on to so tightly for so long that my hands have started to ache without me even consciously noticing it happening. Tonight, I want to set some of it down. Not all of it. I don't think I know how to set all of it down at once. Not yet. Maybe not for a while. Just some. Just enough to breathe a little differently than I was breathing an hour ago. Not because I've figured everything out. Not because the problem is solved, or the relationship is repaired, or the diagnosis has changed, or the money has finally come through the way I've been praying it would. Just because I'm tired, Lord, the kind of tired that doesn't go away with sleep alone. The kind that's been quietly building for longer than I want to admit, even to you, and I think you already knew that about me before. I said a single word out loud tonight. You sat down by a well once, tired from the road, with nothing to prove and no one watching who needed to be impressed by your strength. You know what it is to need rest. You know what it is to feel your body simply run out before the work is finished. So I'm not asking you tonight to be impressed that I made it through another day. I'm asking you, instead, to sit with me in it, the way you sat at that well, unhurried, unbothered by being seen as anything less than completely strong, completely in control. I bring you what I'm carrying right now. Even the parts I'm a little embarrassed to name. The conversation I keep replaying in my head, wishing I'd said it differently, or hadn't said it at all. The decision I still haven't made, the one I keep putting off because I'm afraid of getting it wrong and having no one to blame but myself. The person I'm worried about, the one I can't fix, no matter how much I want to. No matter how many nights I've already spent worrying instead of sleeping. The version of myself I'm not sure I'm becoming. The one I sometimes catch myself disappointed in when I'm honest. I don't need to hand you a complete list. You already know the full weight of it. Every layer of it, better than I could ever explain it myself. I just need to stop pretending, even to myself, that I can hold all of it by my own strength alone. Let not my heart be troubled tonight, not because nothing is wrong. Plenty might still be wrong, exactly as it was this morning, exactly as it might still be tomorrow. But because you said peace was never something I had to wait to receive until everything around me got fixed first. You give it now, in the middle of the mess. In the middle of the waiting, before the ending I keep hoping and praying for actually arrives, if it ever does the way I imagine it will. Help me believe that, not just understand it as an idea, the way I might understand a fact I read somewhere, but actually believe it in my body the way I believe the floor will hold me when I stand on it without thinking twice. Help me believe, all the way down, that I don't have to carry this alone tonight. If there's something I've been gripping out of fear instead of out of faith, Lord, loosen my hands around it now, gently, the way you'd loosen a child's fist without forcing it open. If there's a worry I've fed more attention than I've fed my trust in you, let it grow quieter, even just a little, even just for tonight. If there's a person I haven't forgiven, and Lord, I think you already know exactly who that is. Even if I haven't said the name out loud yet, maybe haven't even said it to myself, soften that ground in me, not all at once. I'm not asking for a miracle of instant forgiveness tonight, just enough softening that I can breathe a little easier than I did yesterday, and a little easier again the day after that. I don't need an answer tonight. I don't need clarity about tomorrow, or next month, or the years I can't see yet, and probably wouldn't understand even if I could. I just need to know, in this exact moment, lying here, that I'm not standing in any of it completely alone. Thank you for sitting with tired people. Thank you for never once asking us to prove our strength before you'll stay close enough to matter. Thank you that the very same gospel that records miracles, water turned to wine, the blind given sight, the dead called back out of the grave, also records, without embarrassment, a man too tired to keep walking down a dusty road in the heat of the day. Because that means there's room in this story for me too, exactly as worn down and unimpressive as I feel tonight, exactly as far from miraculous as I might look right now from the outside. Quiet my mind now, Lord. Slow my breathing without me having to manage it myself, the way you slow a storm without anyone in the boat having to do anything but watch. Let the noise from today start to fade the way light fades at the end of a long, ordinary evening, not all at once, not dramatically, just gently, gradually, until it's dim enough in here to finally rest. I lay it down now. The schedule I haven't finished, the argument I keep replaying for no good reason, the bill I'm worried about that doesn't disappear just because I worry about it harder. The role I keep playing for everyone around me, whether I feel ready for it tonight or not. I lay all of it down, not because any of it stops mattering to me, not because I'm pretending it isn't real, but because you said you would hold it through the night so that I finally don't have to. Be near to me now. Not in some loud, dramatic way that demands my attention or asks me to feel something I'm too tired to feel. In the quiet way you were near a tired traveler resting by a well at midday. In the quiet way you were near a man sitting at his kitchen table. 20 minutes that felt like nothing and everything at once. Finally letting his hands go still after 30 years of holding on tighter than he ever needed to. I don't have to fix anything else tonight. I don't have to solve, decide, prove, or carry one more single thing before I'm allowed to close my eyes and let this day finally be over. I can rest now. In your name, I pray. Amen. Let your breathing slow down now. We're going to move into something older than the worry sitting in your chest tonight, older than whatever kept you scrolling, searching, hoping something would finally quiet your mind. Words that have outlasted every empire, every war, every single generation of tired people who needed somewhere to put their fear down before they could close their eyes. These are the Psalms. Read slowly, said as if for the first time, the way you'd hear them if no one had ever explained them to you. No one had ever made them sound like something you already knew by heart. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. A shepherd doesn't need you to perform anything. He doesn't need you to prove you deserve to be led. He just leads. You don't have to know the way tonight. You don't have to have the next step figured out before you're allowed to follow. You just have to follow. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Psalm 23:2. Notice he makes you lie down. Sometimes rest isn't something we choose for ourselves, the way we'd choose it if we were wiser, gentler with ourselves. Sometimes it's something we're led into, because left on our own, we simply wouldn't have stopped. We would have kept walking long after our legs gave out. He restoreth my soul, Psalm 23 banding 3, not your schedule, not your bank account, not your inbox, or your to-do list, or the version of your life you keep meaning to get around to fixing. Your soul, the quiet part of you that's been running underneath everything else for years now. Rarely noticed, rarely thanked, waiting patiently to finally be tended to. Let's stay a little longer here. Let that one settle all the way down. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Psalm 4:8. This is an old man's prayer before sleep, written long before electric light, long before the noise we live inside of now without ever really escaping it, and somehow it still fits, doesn't it? Lay down, sleep, be safe. Not because the world outside stopped being uncertain, not because every danger disappeared the moment the sun went down, because someone is keeping watch tonight so that you, finally, don't have to. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Psalm 121. 3. You're allowed to slumber. He isn't. That trade was never supposed to go the other direction, no matter how long you've quietly believed it had to. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Psalm 121. Banding 7. Let that settle into your chest for a moment. Slowly, the way warmth settles into cold hands held near a fire. Preserve, not punish, not test, not abandon when things get difficult. Preserve, kept, held carefully, the way you'd hold something fragile that you genuinely didn't want to see broken. Thou hast searched me and known me. Psalm 139:1 known, not impressed, not disappointed, the way you sometimes fear the people closest to you might be if they truly saw everything underneath the surface. Just known fully, completely. The parts you show people easily, and the parts you've spent years keeping hidden, even from yourself some days. Even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Psalm 139:10. Even there. Wherever there is for you tonight, the worry you haven't said out loud, the regret you keep circling back to, the version of this year you didn't plan for and don't know how to make peace with yet, even there. Held, not left to find your own way through it alone. Let's slow down even more now. Let your eyes get heavier with every line. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91, banding 4. Something that small, that close feathers, not armor, not a wall, not a fortress with high stone sides. Not because the danger in your life isn't real, but because closeness was always the better protection, even when it doesn't look like strength from the outside. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night. Psalm 91:5. Whatever shows up in your mind after the lights go off, the running thoughts, the things you didn't say today, the things you're afraid to say tomorrow, the conversations your mind keeps rehearsing even though you've asked it to stop, you don't have to be afraid of them tonight. They don't get the final say over you. They never did. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Psalm 91:11. In all your ways, not just the brave ones, not just the ones you'd be proud to have someone watch. All of them, including the tired ones, the uncertain ones, the ones where you're simply trying to make it through one more ordinary day. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. That's not just something I keep repeating to fill the silence between verses. It's what these old words have been saying, in different forms, in different centuries, to people exactly as tired as you are lying here right now. My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart. and my portion forever. Psalm 73-26. Your flesh fails sometimes. Your heart grows tired sometimes. That was never a secret to him, and it was never a disqualification either. He becomes the strength underneath the failing, not instead of it, but inside of it. Let your hands rest open now. Let your mind grow quiet, the way a house grows quiet long after everyone inside has finally stopped talking. The shepherd already knows the way, even on the nights you can't see 2 steps ahead. The watchman already isn't sleeping, even when everything in you wants to believe you're the only one still awake. You're allowed, finally, to be the one who is. Let your eyes stay closed now. We don't need anything new from here on. Just truth, said quietly. The way someone might speak to you if they were sitting at the edge of your bed, making sure you were okay before they finally let you drift off completely. You did enough today. You don't have to replay the conversation again. You don't have to fix the thing you said wrong, or the thing you didn't say at all, the thing you've been turning over in your mind since it happened. It's done. You can let it be done, even if it doesn't feel finished yet. Even unfinished things are allowed to rest for the night. You are not behind. Not in the way your mind keeps insisting at this hour, the way it always seems to insist right when you're trying to sleep. You are exactly where a tired person is supposed to be at the end of a long day here. Breathing, still trying, still showing up, even when showing up felt like more than you had left to give. That's not failure. That's faithfulness, even on the days it doesn't feel anything like it. You can rest now, not because everything is finished, not because the bills are paid, or the diagnosis is clear, or the relationship is fully healed, or the apology you're waiting for has finally come. You can rest because rest was never something you had to earn first. It was something offered to you quietly, long before you were ever tired enough to need it this badly. You are allowed to stop holding it together for tonight. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands open, palms up, resting wherever they happen to be. You don't have to grip anything right now. Not the worry, not the plan, not the version of tomorrow you keep rehearsing in your head. Nothing you're holding on to is going to fall apart just because you finally let your fingers relax for a few hours. You are not alone in the dark, even when the house is quiet, even when no one else is awake to hear you if you spoke out loud right now, even when it feels like you're the only person still thinking about everything you're thinking about, replaying everything you're replaying. You are not alone in it. You were never alone in it, even on the nights it felt that way the most. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. Say that one to yourself, slowly, the way you'd repeat something you were only just beginning to believe. The way you say a thing twice, because the first time didn't quite sink in. You are loved in the unimpressive moments, the ones where you didn't accomplish anything remarkable, where nothing about your day would make a good story to tell someone tomorrow. The ones where you just survived it barely and called that good enough because it had to be. Those moments count. They were never invisible to him, even when they felt invisible to everyone else, even to you. You don't have to perform peace right now. You don't have to convince anyone, including yourself, that you're handling everything well. You can just borrow his for a while, the way you'd borrow warmth from someone standing close to you on a cold night. Your body has been working hard, longer than it probably should have without a real break. Let it stop working now. Let your breathing slow on its own, without you having to manage it or remind it what to do. Let your heartbeat settle into something quieter, the way a room settles once the last light in the house finally turns off, and everyone inside has stopped moving. It's okay to not have the answer tonight. It's okay that tomorrow is still uncertain, that you don't know exactly how this conversation will go, or how this season ends, or what next month is going to ask of you. You don't have to know any of it tonight. Tonight only asks one thing of you, and it's a smaller thing than you've been asking of yourself: rest. You are being kept, even now, even like this, with your mind still a little loud, your day still a little unfinished, your worries still sitting somewhere just behind your eyes. You are being kept anyway. You are being kept. Let that be the last full thought before the rest of them go quiet one by one. Not a solution, not a plan for tomorrow. Just that kept, watched over, not forgotten, not overlooked, not left to manage everything by yourself in the dark. You can rest now. You can rest now. Let the words get smaller, now, quieter. The way a voice naturally softens the closer someone gets to falling asleep beside you. Let the room get quieter. Let your breathing be the only thing left in this moment that actually matters. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. You never did. Not once. Not even on the heaviest nights you can remember. Rest now, if you've made it this far with me tonight. I want you to know something, quietly, without making a big moment of it. This place is here for you, every night. Not just tonight, when you happen to find it, every night. Whenever the noise gets too loud, or the day won't let go of you easily, or you simply need somewhere to sit for a while before sleep finally comes. If no one else has told you this lately, let me be the one to say it. You are welcome here, exactly as tired as you are, exactly as unfinished as your day was, exactly as you are right now, without having to be anything more. If this has done anything for you tonight, even just slowed your breathing a little, even just given you permission to stop holding so tightly to everything you've been carrying, consider staying close to this channel. Subscribe if you haven't yet, not because it does anything for me, but because it means you'll have somewhere to come back to the next time you need to be still. And there will be a next time. That's not a sad thing to say. That's just what being human is. We get tired again, we need rest again, and it helps to already know where to find it. You don't have to carry tomorrow tonight. Tomorrow can wait outside the door a little longer, the way a patient guest waits without complaint. Right now, there's only this, the quiet, the breathing, the slow loosening of everything you've been holding on to for far too long. Now let's go back, just for a moment, to that man by the well. Remember him, wearied from the road, sitting down because his body finally insisted on it, because there was nothing left in him to keep performing strength he didn't have. I keep thinking about what happened after that conversation by the well. He didn't get up and walk away unchanged. Something in him had been given, and something had been received, even in his exhaustion, even in that ordinary, unremarkable moment that nobody would have thought to write down if it hadn't mattered. That's the part I don't want us to miss before we close tonight. Rest was never the end of the story. It was the place where the next part of the story became possible. The well wasn't a detour from the work, it was woven into it, necessary to it, the same way your rest tonight isn't a pause from your life, but a quiet, necessary part of it. The same is true for you. This stillness you're sitting in right now, it isn't wasted time, even though some part of you might still want to call it that, might still feel the old pull to be doing something more productive with these minutes. It's the well. It's the place where something in you gets to be refilled before you're asked to walk any further down whatever road tomorrow has waiting for you. Think about that man at the kitchen table too. The one who sat for 20 minutes staring at a coffee cup, unable to stand, unsure of what was happening to him. He didn't know, in that moment, that the stillness was the beginning of something gentler in his life. Not weaker, just gentler, just more honest about what he could actually carry by himself. He thought he was breaking. He was actually being allowed, finally, to set something down that had never been his to carry alone in the first place. You might be at your own kitchen table tonight, metaphorically at least, even if you're lying in bed instead, sitting with something you don't have words for yet, something that doesn't have a clean name. That's all right. You don't need the words tonight. You just need the rest, and the rest is already here, waiting for you to finally accept it. I think about Jesus saying it is finished, not as a tragic ending, but as a release. A weight, fully carried, finally set down after every ounce of it had been paid for. I don't think that phrase was only ever about a cross 2,000 years ago. I think it's an invitation for tonight too. Whatever felt unfinished about today, your patience, your plans, your good intentions that didn't quite hold up under the weight of an ordinary, difficult day, it's allowed to be finished now, set down, released into hands stronger than yours, hands that were never tired the way yours are tonight. You don't have to carry this alone tonight. I keep saying it because I think some truths need to be repeated until they finally land somewhere soft in us. Somewhere past the part of our mind that wants to argue with comfort, that wants to keep working even when the work is done for the day. I think about how often we mistake exhaustion for proof. Proof that we love deeply, proof that we're responsible, proof that we take life seriously. But the man by the well loved more deeply than anyone who has ever lived, and he still had to sit down. Strength was never the absence of tiredness. It was simply what happened on the other side of rest, once rest had actually been allowed to do its work. So tonight, let this be one more small rehearsal of that truth, not a lesson to memorize, just a posture to practice, the way you practice anything you want your body to eventually do without thinking. Sit down, set it down, let it be carried by someone whose hands were never tired to begin with. Let your body settle a little deeper into wherever you're lying right now. Let your mind grow quieter, the way a room grows quieter after the last person says goodnight and the house finally settles into itself. We're almost there. Just a little further, and then we'll let the silence finish what words never quite can. We're near the end now. Not of the rest, just of the words. Think back, for a moment, to where we started tonight. You're exhausted, I said. I know, and I think by now, you know that I meant it, not as an opening line, but as something true about both of us, in our own ways, on our own nights. We sat by that well together. We sat at that kitchen table. We walked through old words written by people who were tired long before either of us were born, and somehow their tiredness left room for ours. You came here carrying something. I don't know exactly what. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't either. Maybe it's just a weight without a clear name. The kind that builds up quietly over weeks until one ordinary evening you finally feel the whole shape of it. Whatever it was, I hope some of it feels lighter now. Not gone, lighter. That's usually how it works. Not all at once. Just enough to breathe differently than you were breathing an hour ago. Just enough to let your eyes close without bracing against anything. There's no lesson I need to give you to close this out. No 3 steps, no takeaway, no neat little bow. You already know what tonight was for. Your body knows. It's already a little slower than it was when you pressed play. I think about that man by the well one more time before we go. He didn't leave that conversation with a plan, or a checklist, or a clear sense of exactly what would happen next in his life. He just left lighter, less alone than he'd arrived. Sometimes that's the whole of what a night like this can do, and it's enough. It was enough for him. It can be enough for you. I just want to leave you with this. The same thing the well left with a tired traveller, the same thing the cross left with a finished work, the same thing an old kitchen table left with a man who finally let his hands go still. You don't have to carry this alone. Not tonight, not tomorrow when it comes, not in whatever season you're walking through right now that I don't know the details of, but that I know is heavy in its own particular way. Let everything else go quiet now. The thoughts, the list, the version of tomorrow you keep rehearsing. None of it needs you right now. It will all still be there, exactly as it is, whenever you're ready for it again. Tonight, it can wait outside the door. You don't need to remember every word of what we talked about tonight. You don't need to hold on to the verses, or the story about the well, or the man at the kitchen table, the way you'd hold on to notes from a class. Let it settle into you the way warmth settles into a cold room quietly, without you having to track exactly how it happened. What matters isn't that you remember the details. What matters is that something in you, even just a little, finally exhaled. If this found you at the right moment, if something in these words sat down next to you the way you needed someone to, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment if you feel like it. Tell me what you're carrying, or what you're letting go of tonight, or what you'd want me to speak to next time we sit down like this. This channel is built from nights like yours, one quiet conversation at a time. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not for me, but for the next night this happens to you. Because it will happen again. And when it does, I want this place to already be here, waiting, the porch lights still on. Wherever you are right now, in a bed that feels too big or too small, or just like home, you're not finishing tonight the same way you started it. Something loosened, maybe just a little. That's not nothing. That's actually most of what rest ever does. It doesn't fix the whole story in one sitting. It just loosens the grip enough for sleep to finally do its work. Let your breathing slow all the way down now. Let your shoulders sink into wherever you're resting. There's nothing left to hold onto tonight. The well is still there in the morning. It is finished for today. You can rest now.